Hi, welcome to behind the music video for Half-Life. I poured myself into this music video. It was actually filmed in my mom's backyard, and it could not have been done without the cinematographer George Ballinger or the editor Christian Bretz. So the original concept for the video was projecting all these spheres into the water, which, fun fact, I'm very scared of water. I've gotten better, but I've been scared of the water since I was a little kid. And I'm pretty sure it all stems from the fact of being scared of sharks and being scared that sharks are in the water. And in your rational mind, we know that sharks are not in chlorine pools. But in my fear-based mind, of course that they can be in there. And of course they can come through the pipes and like somehow magically get into the pool and somehow magically bite me before the chlorine gets to them. Like I just, you know, in my mind, in my fear-based mind, that makes perfect sense. So I've had this fear since I was a little kid of them, and I think it stems from when I was in summer camp. There was like a pool at the summer camp, and at the end of the day, it was popsicle time, and popsicle time was the last thing that we did before going home. So it was popsicle time, and we were all chilling there getting their popsicles, and it was like towards end of day when like the sun is starting to fade, shadows start to like come out, and there were shadows on the pool. And these like really big kids, although they were probably like in like 4th to 6th grade, but in my mind they were like huge. These big kids came up to me and they're like, "Do you see those shadows in the pool?" I'm like, "Yeah, I see them." And they're like, "You know what those are?" And I was like, "No, what are they?" "They're sharks." And I was like, "Oh my gosh, I see them." I'm pretty sure that's where my fear of sharks stemmed from. So what will you see projected into the pool that represents my fears? You will see sharks. And you'll see jellyfish, deep water, and like just like rough seas and things like that. I was once told that the ocean and deep water and like water represents our subconscious, and so I think that sharks plays into my fear of water, but I also think that a lot of me being afraid of water is also me being afraid of myself. Like me being afraid of my power and my subconscious and like maybe this lack of control, because when we're walking on land, like that's what we're used to and that's what our body's like more made for. I don't know how to swim as well as I know how to like walk around or things like that, and it's not where I spend the majority of my time, and I just don't feel, because I just don't feel safe in water the way that I feel safe in other places or safer in other places. So the song that's all about fear, I really wanted it to take place in water, and I wanted to play with projection and project all my fears onto the water, and I think in some ways filming this video was like exposure therapy. Let's watch the video and see if there's any like fun little tidbits. So there's the shark. That's the wall, the brick wall. That's like the rough seas, and that little flash was this like shutter light that George had where he just like filmed it so we could use it as like a flare. So that's like an original flare that we created instead of like an effect we purchased. And then so the way that we got all the colors on the water was actually projection. So because since the projections didn't work in the water the way we wanted them to, instead we used them as like almost like really cool effects and lights to give it like a vibe. And then we just tried to tell the story in a different way, like have all the water kind of swimming in your fears in the choruses, and then for the verses we would have this, you would be able to see the fears more concretely, and then that way offering some kind of level of hope, right? This idea that in the water, there's some kind of beauty to the fear, right? Like you're seeing all the fears and you're kind of seeing them in the verses and praise, but then in the chorus, there's like a dance to it. There's a beauty, there's a gracefulness, and isn't that life? The duality of like being afraid of your fears and like kind of like being graceful through them. George was a trooper. He was underwater for a lot of the shoot, getting some of those images. Right? I love this idea here where it's like this repetitiveness with like the hourglass and the windmills and this like reverse kind of footage. And then I also wanted to interweave symbols of hope. So you see like the bird, there's different images of birds which mean hope to me, and this idea of like desert, like drought as well, but balanced with this like almost like Ophelia romantic loneliness of like, how can we make this idea of, oh, there's another symbol of hope with the roses. Oh, the birds is my favorite. The first time I saw the birds, it made me cry. So yeah, it's just like, I think that there's a lot of duality at play in the video. I wanted to really showcase, okay, swimming in your fears and projecting your fears, and then leaning into that, right? This idea that if you lean into your fears and you face your fears, they start to give way, right? You can start to find this like dance and movement and beauty in them. I have this book by David Hawkins. It's called Letting Go. And it's in that he talks about the idea of leaning into your feelings, and this idea that if you sit and you feel your feelings as they come up and you don't try to push them away and you accept them for what they are, they will burn out. You can't feel them on the condition that they leave, but you just have to feel them and just accept. You just have to accept them for as they are. And so I guess in some ways it wasn't intentional, but so much of art is spiritual intervention and like a divine interplay of like intent of my personal intention matched with like being a channel. And I think that there is this symbolism for, as you face your fears, like they kind of release and there becomes like a gracefulness and a beautiness to it. So I think music is so much bigger than the song, and I think that through a song that autobiographical like this that means something, I think that there is a way to have a bigger conversation. There's a way to talk about fear, talk about, hey, I've was felt this way and it was really, 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 really hard. And so if you felt this way, like maybe this is a song for you, because I think that so much music, it can be escapism, and that's very necessary as well. But I think it's important to talk about the struggles of life in music and to like be honest about those so that people can relate and they have representation. I think that we're living in this world where the challenges of millennials and Gen Z are unlike any of the challenges of previous generations in so many ways. And so I think it's really, really important to be honest and have music that represents these struggles. And I think that there is a paradigm that we're seeing in film and television around millennial rage and this idea that millennials have had it so hard compared to other generations, and Gen Z as well, and we're reaching a certain age where other generations have had certain mile markers of success that millennials just have not had yet. And it's not because of a lack of effort, it's a lack of opportunity. And millennials are one of the first generations to go to therapy and on a broad scale, and so we're really diving in to the depths of our emotions, and we need music that represents that. We need music that tells our stories. A lot of millennials are not having children or getting married, or they're doing it much later in life. They need music that represents that era of their life. So that's a lot of my goals as a musician and as a millennial, is to really tell the millennial experience, to really talk about the struggles and the fears and the depths and all the things I've learned in therapy and meditation. I want to see us represented in art, and we're seeing that in film and TV through a lot of shows that are being dubbed like the genre millennial rage, but I really haven't seen a lot of that in music, and that's what I'm trying to do, or one of the things I'm trying to do is to make millennial rage music, talk about the struggles, and then talk about the journey to self-love, talk about how to find yourself and how to be happy. And it's all autobiographical. It's all just like my lived experience and offering it and like putting it out into the world as an offering to others in the hopes that it makes a difference and puts some good in the world. So thank you for watching. Hope you have the most beautiful of days, and sending you lots of love.